The Todd Shapiro Show, Canada Laughs, SiriusXM 168.
Before we talk about the wines and the long weekend and everything and where they're available, because I'll tell you, like, there's very few things I'm passionate about in life. And I always try and think of myself as post-radio career, because in Canadian entertainment, it's so fickle. You never know, 1 minute it could end. And one of the things, like, in my head, I was always thought, like, well, it'd be really neat to own, like, a winery, like a vineyard. It would be, like, that would be, I feel like that would be a really cool business. So, like, is it?
Well, there's two areas or two categories to the business. It's extremely cool. I mean, like, we live in a beautiful area, and I'm always like, just my breath is taken away when I'm driving through and I see the big fields of vineyards, and it's gorgeous. And also, we have such great camaraderie with our local wineries and events, and it's so fun to connect with people and taste their wines and taste your wines and see what's going on. And even with the winemakers, they're on trips together, and they're learning things around the world and bringing them back to Canada. But the flip side of it is Mother Nature. She kills us sometimes, right? So you gotta be on top of things. You gotta watch what you're doing and making sure you're current. You've got the right vines planted, because it takes 3 years for those vines to produce fruit. So you don't want to be on the wrong trend. So it's an amazing industry. We're very, very lucky. Obviously, we're super proud of it, and everyone loves to have a glass of wine at their desk, and that's totally acceptable in the wine industry.
Heidi, do you ever do weird shit to convince the weather to be more in your favor? Are you calling in any spirits? You rubbing any stones, or what's going on here?
We pray. We talk about it a lot, but we're not. There's lots of wineries that are biodynamic and do different things like that. But for us, honestly, we watch the weather. Like, I think Curtis has about 15 different weather apps on his phone, and we have our own weather station at the winery. And there's good years and bad years. They all even out. But I think what we're seeing, over the past 10 years, if you're looking at it historically, great growing conditions in Ontario right now, specifically, in Niagara, for growing top quality grapes. And some varietals will do better. There's always a hero every year of that vintage, but we've been pretty lucky. And when you look at the summer, I mean, God, it's been so hot. It's been like amazing, and those grapes are soaking up that sun, and they're loving it.
Heidi, I guess you guys would be great experts then to call and be like, hey, how accurate is the weather reports? Like, are they pretty accurate? Do they know what they're doing, these weather people?
I think, honestly, like, the weather I have, my app on my phone is really generic, so it's not accurate at all. But the one Curtis uses, like, I don't know, he's like his own little weatherman. That's my husband, and he's like, oh yeah, we're gonna have rain in exactly 15 minutes, and it's a green part, so it's just gonna come through, and it'll be done in such a time. And honestly, it's amazing. It's pretty damn good.
Wow, that's
Curtis is the feels like guy. He does it. So when it says it's like 34, but it feels like 41, that they're calling Curtis. He's outside like, yep, you're right. It feels like about 41 today.
Yeah, and tell him, like, what do the kids need to wear to school? He's like, I don't know, shorts.
You should know. And I mean, we're really excited to be working with you guys, and the wine is absolutely delicious. Now, you got the wine lodge there, though. Can you?
We do. Yeah. So given that Curtis's family is from Northern Ontario, very much cottage country, we wanted to design a place that was obviously really comfortable and home-like for people and welcoming. So it's modern, but it's a lot of cedar, a lot of glass. So when people come in, we try to get the door for them, because, wine can be a little snooty, so we want people to feel comfortable right off the get-go. So welcome them, and, when you come into our tasting room, you look right past the tasting bar, and you can see vineyards, and on a clear day like today, you could see right past Lake Ontario and the whole Toronto skyline. So just gorgeous, and you can see the tanks, so people can have an experience where they can walk around and see where we're actually making the wine, or sit out on our patio and sit in one a big, beautiful Muskoka chair and just be glad you're not sitting in traffic, but you're actually just enjoying a glass of wine.
So, and out there in Niagara, you do daily tours and stuff, right? And tastings and everything.
Yeah, we do. We do a daily tour every day at 2:00, so people can actually see what happens, how the wine is made, and learn a little bit more about winemaking in Niagara and Ontario. And then we do fun things like wine and cheese experiences, or we do cheese plates and wine by the glass. And if you don't want to just sit and taste wine at the bar, you can always do something else. We try to make a good experience for people.
We have a John and I were thinking we have a really good idea that we want to do a wine and cheesy jokes. And we'll do some comedy there. How does that at Fielding Estate? Does that work?
That would be amazing. We've done concerts. We've done yoga in the vineyard. We have not done a comedy act, but I feel there's a real market for that.
Wine and cheesy jokes.
Perfect. Okay. Yeah, that sounds great. Fly me back. And
he's from Vancouver.
I will be more than happy to come out to your vineyard and tell some jokes.
Well, this is and tell us about the Long Weekend brand.
Yeah, so a few years ago we wanted to expand. We were pretty successful at the winery and within the LCBO, and we thought we'll expand our portfolio a little bit and make it more like easy drinking. It's still like great quality wine, and we started thinking about just the feeling you get when you have wine and cool things that we love as Canadians. Obviously, everybody loves a long weekend, and they're important to Canadians, whether it's a Tuesday through Thursday or whatever it may be, a specific traditional long weekend. So we're like, we're gonna launch the Long Weekend Wine Company. So we had Chardonnay Pinot Grigio for the white and the Cabernet for the red, and we have a rosé coming out to vintages at LCBO this weekend. But just more like, so people understand, like, wine can be like just enjoyable. Like, you're gonna experience like great flavors, good fruit. It's like we want people to like really feel like they're, the feeling you have when you're having a long weekend when it's in a glass.
Yeah, and there's no like pretension to the wine, right? Which is, I think, the most important message with everything you guys are doing. And you said snooty earlier, which is interesting because I see so many different. When I say different, like just maybe not the stereotypical wine drinker nowadays, and it's just like dudes coming over instead of bringing over a 2-4, they're just they're bringing over some wine now and stuff, and it's really like and I like that brand, the Long Weekend, and everything you guys do promotes all of that. Like you don't have to be a wine snob. Let's just enjoy some nice wine and let it create conversation and good this sort of fun, family, community friendly feel to it. And that's when we got to talking, I was like, that's a perfect fit for us.
For sure. The Long Weekend brand, I mean, it's super successful out in Alberta and in, Calgary and those areas. And it's like, of course, because the West is very adventurous in their travels and the cool VW van on the bus sort of speaks to like that fun freestyle lifestyle. But the wine, like, our name is on it, the Fielding brand, because we stand behind it. Richie Roberts has been our winemaker for over 10 years, and it's like he puts the same care and concern into a $14.95 bottle of wine as he would into like a $50 bottle of wine. So for us, obviously, our name is on that as well. We want it to taste great. But even going further than that, the Long Weekend brand is now in a 3-liter bag-in-box, which is one of the first VQA boxes of wine you could actually ever buy at the LCBO. It used to be all like imported brands. So for the consumer, I had to get my head around it a little bit because as a wine drinker, I'm like, I've never had boxed wine before, but let's try it out. And I will tell you, it's an amazing thing. You put it in your fridge, you open it up, it lasts for 6 weeks. You pour a glass, and it's as good today as it will be in 5 weeks from now. And I thought, wow, that's amazing. Like we start talking about wine, and we get caught up in many different things, but really at the end of the day, you want to enjoy the quality of what's in your glass, and it's very specific to each person, but it has to taste good. It has to be enjoyable.
I love that, and what I love about that, and I'm saying this sincerely, is that it's also just doing lots of trips to the cottage, stuff like bottles you worry about and kind of stuff like that. So you grab the box, you throw it in the fridge, and don't worry about what what the stereotype might be. No one's going to question it once you're drinking a great wine. No one's going to care where it came from. And if anything, I think it allows you to start a conversation around that where it's like, no, this is like in a box. Like, don't worry about it. It's like it's a great friggin' wine, and go just enjoy.
Exactly. And it was a totally new concept for me. I'm like, we're doing this? Okay, this is amazing, because you see the trends in the States. You see what's happening. They're doing single vineyards, very premium wine in box, because they recognize what a great concept. Like for my mom who's at home alone, she doesn't have to worry about opening up a bottle of wine and, having to drink it within those like couple days so it's still fresh and good for her. It's like freaking ideal.
What is sort of the science behind it that it does last that much longer?
It's like when it's in like a specific sealed bag with no air in it. So even every time you pour the glass out, the bag shrinks around the wine, so you're not actually exposing the wine itself to any air.
That's really good to know. I guess my only fear is I might go through the box a little too soon. But
you're like, oh, this could have lasted me 6 weeks, and I drank it in a weekend. Whoops.
The other day when we first got it, I'm like, can you top my wine up a little bit? So Curtis brought it over and like squirted it into my glass, and I'm like, I don't know if we've progressed or digressed, but I'm gonna go with progress here.
Well, Heidi, I look forward to having you on the program from time to time, and obviously, tweeting out and giving the message, and Instagram posts. And it's, I'm really stoked by this entire thing, and I want to remind people that you just can go and check out your wine tours and go and learn more if you're in the Toronto area or anywhere. Don't be afraid to go and take a ride down. Why don't you give all the information for people if they're intrigued by that, Heidi?
Oh, for sure. To come visit us at the winery, we are in Beamsville. We're on Locust Lane, but if you visit fieldingwines.com, it'll give you the exact directions. We're literally less than an hour door-to-door from downtown Toronto. And we're at the LCBO. Actually, that bag-in-box we were just talking about for the long weekend is $5 off until, I think, Sunday, so that's a cool thing. But visit our website, come and see us. Fielding Wines is our social handle, so we're very active on all social media and just love to hear from people. Awesome.
And, of course, you can also go to longweekendwineco.com if you want to learn more about the Long Weekend Bread.
Exactly.
And, and a big cheers to you. I look forward to all this. And, I'm heading up north, so I'm going to grab a box myself.
Do it. All right. Let me know how it is.
Well, I will do. Cheers. Okay. Thank you, Heidi.
Care. Thank you. Bye.
That was great. Heidi Fielding, everyone.
The Todd Shapiro Show. Canada Laughs. SiriusXM 168.